we'll be looking at the software choices. Before we do, just some general words of advice. If you have a machine that you are the sole user on, and this will be the machine that you'll be using for your recording and editing of your music, you are set up perfectly and probably not need to listen to the rest of this. If not, here's some advice. Firstly, if you're not the sole user of your machine, now we're assuming a desktop machine, then make sure you create accounts. Now with these accounts, make sure you are the sole administrator on the machine, the only one that can change the configuration of Windows, therefore installing files, removing, etc. You are the only person that can configure Windows. This limits the damage people can do while particularly surfing on the internet and the like, which means that they can't install rogue files. Any suspicious files, you are the only person able to install. This means your kids can't go on the internet and install games that may be a little bit dodgy, therefore causing havoc with your machine. What you don't want to do is lose all of your music, years and years of music, by some freak incident. So make sure you are the sole administrator on this machine, and if possible you're the only user, but definitely the only administrator on the machine. The other issue will be the smooth recording of your music. While the machine is running, particularly Windows, there will be several background processes running, consuming quite a bit of resources from the computer. The CPU will be working hard delivering these processes along with memory. Now, the fewer background processes you have running, the better and more efficient your recording will be. Therefore, try and remove such things as antivirus software. Just disable it rather than remove. And the same will go for any other processes running, such as the internet. So antivirus and internet, if they can be disabled, that will free up enough resources to keep your recording running nice and smoothly. What you don't want to do is to drop a lot of sample rates picked up by your computer while acquiring music. So bear this in mind. If you can remove these, fine. I myself do not have an antivirus software running on my machine. My machine is offline. Now, if that's the way you run your system, beware of one thing. You need to make sure any files transferred from any other machine which is online, transferred to your music machine, must be scanned for viruses before putting into your machine. If your machine is offline and there is no antivirus software running, it becomes quite vulnerable. It's vulnerable being online anyway, so removing it from being online eases that and makes it less vulnerable. But it is always useful to have some type of antivirus software. So if not on that particular machine, make sure you scan every media that you put into this machine before placing it into the machine. So if you're using a key drive, external drive, whichever, make sure you scan it thoroughly first for viruses before inserting it into this machine. As I say, your machine will come a bit more vulnerable if there is no antivirus software on it. So these are things to consider. Be aware. That looks like about as much as we can speak about for now. Apart from one other item will be the way our recording will be actually achieved. During these tutorials, I will be looking at recording single layer, single track recording, essentially overdubbing, one track over the other, or over the others. So essentially, as our tracks build up, we'll be recording them one at a time. Now, we can record simultaneously multiple tracks. So most software, recording software, will have facilities to do this. The way I work is different, so therefore I will only really be covering overdubbing as one layer at a time. Now, this is really the way I work. If you have facilities to do this, the software and the hardware to do it, by all means you can do it. We will be looking at how to set up your software to do this, but primarily I will be looking at the one layer approach, the overdubbing approach. That is how the tutorials will be based. So you do your own thing. You can follow the way that it's done as far as the tutorials, and then you can do your own thing as far as the multiple layers are concerned. So once we decide on the software to be used, you decide what you want to do. Straightforward, no problems, single layer, multiple layers, your choice. Okay, here we go, software choices. Software choices. Well, I may have misled you. There is really one choice. We're only going to be looking at one bit of software. Now, there are lots of software on the market that will do audio editing. Quite a few, and admittedly, some of the more expensive commercial bits of software will do wonderful things, great features. But I've managed to have lasted quite a while without using these features. So to me, they're not necessary. To you, they may be. If you found a bit of software that you find useful and does exactly what you want it to do, then you need not listen to the rest of this section. Now, the bit of software that we will be using in the tutorials from now is a bit of software called Audacity. It's what's called an open source software, where there have been many contributors since its early development. So over the last few years, it's had various features added to it, which has improved its performance somewhat. And those facilities just means it's fairly easy to use. It's not cluttered with features everywhere, but the features it does have are very, very useful. There's not a very steep learning curve, but there is a learning curve because it does do quite advanced stuff. So we'll be looking into some depth with this. We'll start off with basic use, recording, basic editing, and then move on to more advanced stuff. So you can tag along. You can either follow all of the tutorials. You can follow a few, dip in, dip out as you wish. We're a ship sailing along. You either jump on board, take what you need from it, or jump on and off. Embark, disembark, the way you feel fit. So no compulsion, but there will be some useful information as to the use of the software and the various techniques, and just a general insight into the recording and editing of music, which is, to my mind, one of the most, if not the most important parts of your production. The recording is important because you need to get that information in. The digital information must go in, but the way you manipulate it after you've recorded, post-recording, is essential. So follow me if you want. If you enjoy, subscribe. If you don't, move on to somewhere else. But we will now be looking at music production, recording and editing using Audacity. Thank you.